Guys, what is up? Welcome back here to the ESL Major League Americas. I am Solid Jake.
And I'm Kubi.
And oh my goodness, he's bouncing
This
around.
Is it.
What is that?
This
You're
is
like,
6 weeks.
Kubi's actually in his jetpack, just going.
Yeah, this is a jetpack dance. This is it. We've been waiting 6 weeks for this.
6 full.
These two teams have been top of the league since day one, right?
Yeah.
I think they both
For the
played. I think
season?
they both literally played the first day, and they've just had ridiculous records moving forward throughout the entire league. Tempo Storm only suffering the one loss to 2ARC. Barrel Boys are undefeated right now, and we've had to wait 6 long weeks to see these two teams go at it. I have, oh geez, our lobby got destroyed.
Yeah, let's just.
All right, so yeah, we've been waiting for 6 weeks for this, and we got a little insider info. These two teams have not played each other all week.
Ooh, no scrimming.
Nothing.
No
They're
playing
they're
together.
so into it. I love it. They're like, yeah, this is a big deal.
This
and
is a big
both
deal.
teams feel incredibly confident that they can take the other one out. There's been some slight roster changes for Barrel Boys since the beginning of the league. I think is they dropped Fury. Who did they replace with?
Why is this slipping me? We're actually terrible people.
Yeah, we'll find out in a second.
He's a Korean player based on what I read.
Oh, that's
and
right. Is it Hurt, or is that a different team? No, that was a different team.
Trying to put a name. He's new to he's new to our scene. He's definitely new. He's not somebody that I was aware of prior to seeing him join their squad. So it's very interesting. It's definitely been working out for them. They look incredibly strong, and we're setting up the lobby right now, just getting that good and ready. But, of course, we'll know his name very shortly. But, yeah, we can actually take a look over at those standings as we are setting this up. And we can see that we did, in fact, just have a game just happen. So that was 2ARC solidifying themselves with a 5-1. They defeated Lunatic, putting Lunatic at a 1-5. So Lunatic will sit in that. They cannot get anything higher than the 7th
No, they are going to be taking the 7th slot in relegation.
But that is going to put 2ARC at a potential first place, honestly, because
It all depends on who wins here.
there's a lot of variables. Yeah,
If Barrel Boys wins, they still play against them next week. So if Barrel Boys very much in control of their destiny, trying to grab that top seed. Tempo Storm, they obviously need to win here, but if they lose, then a lot of it's going to be again in the hands of that
it's
matchup that takes place next week.
Right, it's so very close because the one loss Tempo Storm has, that's to 2ARC. And now we're finally seeing Barrel Boys and Tempo Storm face off. So the seeding is so very big. It's like such a crucial point of all of this when it comes down to playoffs.
That it is. So, what kind of? I can only imagine the crazy strategies that these teams have been cooking up throughout the course of this week.
Look, okay, so we've seen teams bust out crazy stuff. Like, okay, 2ARC, they like to play with Tyrael. Tempo Storm, they kind of brought out this Asmodan play.
Yeah, they
Let's take a look at our board here.
the board.
Oh, the board.
Jake refers to his gigantic mouse pad. Of course, you guys can't see it.
It's a desk mat.
Okay.
It has almost every single hero in Heroes of the Storm on it.
Desk mat.
All right, so who's been out of the meta? Kerrigan. Maybe she'll see a return. We've seen Asmodan pick up some play, but he's kind of fallen off. Falstead, definitely a viable thing. Maybe we'll see some kind of crazy Tychus build. Maybe we'll see a Bloodless comp. That's something we haven't seen in a long time.
Tempo Storm, they do very much like to go back to the drawing board whenever they can and try to reinvent or just come up and cook up these crazy strategies that we're talking about. Now, we've been talking all about Tempo Storm here, but Barrel Boys, more than capable of just ridiculously solid play all over the place. So I'm so excited to see these two.
And who's to say they're not going to do something crazy too? We have no clue. But the draft for game number 1 in this best of 3 series about to be underway, and Illidan immediately going to be removed from this game. And Kionda, yes, Kionda is the 5th player playing with the Barrel Boys. He has replaced Fury, who is no longer with the team, from what we understand.
Yep. So Barrel Boys, they pulled out the Illidan very quickly. I think perhaps they have been doing some draft practicing. We'll see how speedy the rest of their draft looks. But I mean, they may have thought of some contingencies. Okay, we're first pick, first ban. We'll ban out Illidan because if we have a feeling XYZ, this is what they might run. Very well could be the case.
Yeah, there's so many mind games to be played here. thinking about your draft and taking every moment you have to think about it is crucial. But they're in that bonus pool. They've already used 20 seconds just about of that bonus pool time. And they're thinking hard. Do they want to try to do something cheeky with the supports? Do they want to try to ban out some kind of play? Hey, we know Barrel Boys likes to do...
Oh, I thought it crashed us. Hammer!
Hammer.
I was actually about to ask about how quickly Tempo Storm would pick up Hammer, if allowed, because they do enjoy running Hammer style comps. Okay, Uther Tyrande. This is now we're getting into it.
This is aggressive. This is very aggressive. So Hammer's removed because Hammer's so powerful at just being able to siege up at those temples and just have incredible amount of damage output. Vala was scooped up without any hesitation, but so was the Uther Tyrande. And what do we see in that last series? Uther Tyrande Stitches.
And Diablo.
And Lord Dibbles. So they're signaling to either of those working in their composition.
Barrel Boy's taking some time to think about this one. Vala, of course, very neutral. Neutral grab. She fits into just about every... She's always picked up within the first 3 heroes for either team. It's rare to see. Can't remember the last time we didn't see her picked for any team comp. Diablo!
Lord
Grabbed
Dibbles.
early.
But do they... What else do they go for here? There's a million options on the board, and Rhaegar is one of the bigger ones because the Uther Tyrande is picked up. The second you give away Rhaegar 2, suddenly there's a ton of support available on Tempo Storm's side of the map, and it's rough to give that up.
This is true. I think Rhaegar is very, very likely to be grabbed. That said, do you expect to see Tempo if Rhaegar is left on the table? Do you expect to see them grab
Yes.
Rhaegar?
Double support is so good.
Triple?
Tyrande is definitely that.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of healing,
but
she still has that impact of like the Lunar Flare Hunter's Mark, where she gives you so much burst on your team. So she's the middle of the road. It's a lot of healing, but it's definitely not out of the question. You need solid damage, and it would be hard to pick up Rhaegar. I guess they could save their tank for last, so I definitely don't think it's out of the question to grab like Rhaegar and Azebo, but they opt for Tassadar.
Diablo Tassadar. Tempo Storm still have a ton of options available to them in terms of which strategy or which style they want to opt to go for. They can still take a very aggressive style that might involve Sonya. They could still go for a very support-heavy, slower-paced teamfight style if they grab Rhaegar here.
Or just a pick style.
They can go for a pick style by grabbing Stitches and perhaps one other form of CC lockdown. Like I said, there's a ton of directions they could take these. And that's really the design of good drafting for either side of these teams, is that they've picked very neutral heroes. They don't want to show...
Oh.
They've taken the blonde ladies.
Oh, my goodness. They have the 3 most attractive characters in the entire team on a single roster. And this is a blow-up composition if I've ever seen one. The Frail Gales...
What? That's okay. I'll take over from here. That's fine. All right, let's take a look at Barrel Boys. Oh, my goodness. I think you were going for perhaps these are some squishy heroes that the Tempo Storm has elected to grab.
Yep. So elegantly.
Frail Gales. Like, what is that, like winds that fall apart? They call those breezes, Jake.
Good.
Breezes. Frail Gales.
Regis will be picked up as their support. No surprise there. But what do they go for in terms of damage? Now, Asmodean is not popular on this map. Asmodean would be a cool option because they have such small health pools. When he starts to get stronger and stronger and stronger, he can blow them up. But it's not really a good map for him. I really think Ravenous is a really good option just because of how low their health pools are. But they still could just grab...
What kind of build is the Nova going to be? Like, how
is this a Tyrael comp?
For Tempo? Best guess at this point. Nova?
Yeah.
When was the last time we saw Nova played?
Nova here.
Maybe Dunk?
Nova here. Dunk played Nova the week Sky Temple came out on Sky
That
Temple.
was probably...
That was the last time.
Beta launch? January?
No, when Sky Temple came out. Was that beta launch? I don't remember if they were...
Well,
I don't think they were together.
I know. Sometimes these patches kind of melt together.
I
It was
think
probably around that time, right?
But
January?
it was definitely on Sky Temple. It was the first week of Sky Temple, and we saw Nova.
Yes.
I remember that, and that's the last time we've seen her. Precision Strike, of course, very strong. Nova has a lot of burst, but she's not nearly as much of a... I don't know. She used to be really popular. She got a bit of a nerf, though.
Does Nova counter Ancestral Healing?
This is cool, though.
Triple
because
tap?
we were talking about, like, what do people do? What kind of mix-ups? Oh, my goodness. They actually go for the double tank. So this... I really think they have to get Tyrion, they have to go for Judgment and just try to eliminate targets. Now, having Diablo Stitches in this front line with Tassadar and Rhaegar, it's going to be hard to kill them, but Hunter's Mark and all the slow...
It's got to be ATC, right?
ATC or Tyrael. Maybe they want just Judgment, destroy the target. Like, they're going to
we haven't seen Tempo Storm play Tyrael. It's possible
we haven't
they
seen
could.
Tempo Storm play Nova either.
Okay.
So
I'm sitting down. Sitting down. It's a good point. They could be pulling out any number of tricks at this point in the draft. ETC is what is likely, probably the safer play if you want to just try out Nova and just remove all the other variables to see what the effectiveness is. Who knows? All right, while we're waiting, we can talk about the rest of Barrel Boy's draft. They do have the Double Warrior. They do have a sizable amount of damage, even AoE damage in the form of Tassadar. Vala, it's a very safe draft. Overall, very safe draft. Hopefully it isn't bugged. We'll have to confirm with the rest of the teams to make sure it isn't. Sometimes the last pick can bug out. Don't think that's the case.
yeah, well, no, the timer's still going, so they're thinking.
10 seconds, almost.
Yeah,
Oh!
it's
Jake was
Tyrael.
right.
It's Tyrael. It's a blow-up comp. This is gonna be...
We've seen aggression return to the meta a little bit here and there. Illidan and Sonya sometimes taken together. Sometimes Sonya on her own. It usually does involve Tyrande. Who would have thought that Tyrande would have been the kingpin for the return of aggression?
I love it. It's actually really, really fun and really cool, but this is going to be such an interesting game. I'm scratching my head. I'm thinking about these two rosters, these two compositions that we're looking at in this game.
Yeah.
And it can go both ways very easily. It's either... The thing is, though, I think if Tempo Storm loses the level advantage... There's like
that's a very, very good point to bring up. It is so difficult to play Nova at a level deficit.
Right, and it's not even just Nova. It's just you're relying on blowing people up, and if you can't do that, they don't necessarily have a pick. Their way of blowing people up is with Judgment. So you're getting in there, and then you're blowing them up. Stitches and Diablo are on the opposing team. So if any of them get hooked, if that Jaina gets hooked and then flipped and shit, good night.
Yeah, their positioning kind of needs to be very, very much on point.
And
Nova, Jaina.
Tyrael has to block those hooks, but he also has to worry about Shadow Charge. Now, Druid's Might's good for getting out of situations, but it's going to be a really cool, interesting game. And these are the top two teams here in North America.
This is what we've been waiting for.
Crazy meta, crazy style games. I bet you guys told your dogs and cats about this game.
I hope so.
They're very excited for it.
Well, let's get into it. Sky Temple is going to be the first map between Barrel Boys and Tempo Storm. We actually had a straw poll really quick. Oh my gosh. It is like dead even.
51% to 49%.
That's one vote difference.
One vote difference in the straw poll that was posted in the chat. Kubi tried to bait all you guys to post links. You guys all failed because Moobot said no.
They didn't read the rules. It was a test. It's testing everyone.
Very good.
See if they read the rules.
Now, this is a best of 3 series. Again, right now, Barrel Boys, they're sitting 5-0.
5-0.
Tempo Storm sitting 4-1. This is pretty much playing for the #1 seed.
Yes, as long as both teams, whichever advances. It's going to be a little bit tougher for Barrel Boys to maintain that if they win here, as they do have to play against Tuark. That is the more difficult of teams to be playing against. And I think Tempo is playing against Lunatic
next week. Yeah.
Next week. So it's something to consider.
Yeah, very true.
Barrel Boys will have, based on record, they will have the tougher time holding that position. Definitely not impossible, as they have proven themselves to be an incredibly strong team in the past. Let's get to introducing the teams on the blue side. For Tempo Storm, we have Dreadnought on Uther, KO on Jaina, Glaurung's going to be playing Tyrande, Soldier, Ontario, and Arthlons. We playing the Crisp Nova.
Look at those. I mean, all right, we always talk about the synergy between skins and mounts, and this is pretty top notch. The stockings, the shoulder pads, even the wheels on those skates, they match the money pig. And I'm very much feeling it.
I don't know, that's a stretch. That's a stretch, Jake.
On the other
I
half
would
of the map,
expect better from you.
in the red team, we have Trummel playing as Vala. Blinks is going to be on Rhaegar. McIntyre on Stitches. He's got the Chef Stitches. Kionda. That's, of course, the newest player added to this roster on Tassadar. And last but not least, Urho playing Diablo. That will make Barrel Boys. They are currently leading first place in the standings of the ESL Major League Americas. And they want to hold that position moving into playoffs in just 2 weeks.
I love how confident both teams are going into this. They have, they've expressed their interest. They're expecting it to be a very good series, and I think we can all look forward to that. Between these two teams, we're going to be paying attention to the Nova build moving forward, just to see what her, how she's played. At least in the early game, is she just straight gank style? Does she? I mean, as it is, they're both Arthlon and Glaurung hiding in the bottom lane. Tassadar, not the easiest of gank attempts, though.
No, he's got that Oracle, and he does move forward, and they're not going to be able to connect that Lunar Flare. And, of course, you do have Dimensional Shift. So even if the Lunar Flare would have connected, he has that safety barrier to get out. He's, like you said, very hard target.
Very smart for Barrel Boys to leave this target in the bottom lane. I don't think the Hunter's Mark was quite off cooldown. Might have made the difference in picking up the kill on Kionda there. Still, both of the first set of temples spawning at about 1:30 seconds into the game. What's the rotation going to be for both teams? Typically, we see some of a fight in the mid, and then the winner of the fight will usually rotate up to top. Sometimes there is a lone hero left at the top shrine. Tempo Storm holding the early advantage. How is Barrel Boys going to approach this fight?
Now, we notice Jaina and Tesla are staying in the bottom lane, but Urho in the front lane flipping Dreadnought, dealing out a lot of damage, and the heals are not going to be enough to stay alive, but staying in that ghost form, he's still providing support. Soldier with the self-shielding, very, very low. The wolf form going to be enough to pick up the kill. No, the heal's coming out from that ghost Uther, just barely enough to save his life.
Now it seems as though it is a 3v5. The health pools are still looking quite healthy for the remaining members of Barrel Boys. Lynx getting back in. Diablo will be joining the fray soon enough, and Tempo Storm opting to back up. There's a 1-for-1 trade for this very early temple, and Tempo Storm will be sending the rest of their members up to the top lane, perhaps?
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, a convincing start from Barrel Boys, but the experience, I mean, the soak has been real out of Tempo Storm. They've managed to hold on into the experience, not fall too far behind, but the siege onto the middle lane, taking out some of those towers, pushing them a bit forward. And Arthalon, oh, the hook was actually used a little bit too soon. So if the hook did connect after the flip of Diablo, probably would have connected in the kill. But the stun onto Blinks with the Hunter's Mark will be enough for the Tempo Storm to pick up their second kill of the game, actually taking a kill advantage.
Yes. That said, they've had quite a bit better soak in both the mid and bottom lanes. Rotations for the Tassadar player Kionda have been solid enough. They lost the kill there, but they're still a little bit behind in that experience. It speaks volumes for the play styles of both these teams are going to be putting forward, at least until they hit level 10. Tempo Storm's obviously going to be looking to take these aggressive, try to quickly eliminate some of these targets. Yes, the hook and the CC is available for Barrel Boys, but they are showing they have the better soak up until this point.
Yeah, and the final shots will go off onto the top fort of Barrel Boys. And right now the teams have rotated back into the lanes to make sure they do get that ever-crucial soak. But first, Mercamp of the game looking to be like these bruisers out of the Barrel Boys.
Yes, perhaps a bit early. We're talking in the first set that we watched today, how some teams at least try to grab this bruiser camp to try to time it so that when the second temple spawns in the bottom lane, you have this split push, so to speak, at least soaking up tower shots from that top fort. So this is going to be a bit early, and maybe we will see some aggression for Barrel Boys in this top lane. And will Tempo Storm try to retaliate and take a slightly later bruiser camp before rotating to the bottom to grab the temple?
We'll find out, but let's take a quick look at the talents here, because Nova's not all that popular in the current meta, and we can just kind of run through the talents she's picked up so far. So that's Ambush Snipe, Gathering Power, and the Anti-Armor Shells. Once upon a time was called Hot Shots. That's kind of when Nova starts to get scary, because this gives her so much more burst potential. And as we talk about burst potential, McIntyre does have his day ruined.
Yes. very quickly. Hunter's Mark, the power showing itself once again. Nova and Tassadar still soaking that bottom lane. It is possible, if the amount of soak is good for both teams, to hit that level 10 before the second set of temples arises. It'll just be the bottom one. But having that level 10 advantage and the positional advantage going into that temple can be so critical. As you can see, there are two very tight corridors going into that bottom temple. And if the CC and positioning is strong, if you already have members in there, it can be very difficult to pierce that.
It really is. But hey, one thing that you mentioned was these bruisers and delaying them as long as you can. Well, look what they did. They killed the bruisers and they didn't cap it. Cheerio rotates up just to cap them at the last moment, leaving them available until this bottom temple spawns. So now there's this obnoxious split push on the opposite side of the map.
Yes.
Very good strategic play.
Well timed, slightly risky if Barrel Boys was just having a bit of vision there, especially possible with Tassadar. And that Oracle perhaps could see over the wall. Oh, okay, the Merc camp is available, hasn't been taken. Dreadnought does get hooked. It flipped over. Is he going to find himself in a bad spot? The Lightning Breath going on. Ancestral Healing was just enough to keep Arrow alive. Is the damage output enough for Barrel Boys to flip on the Soldier? And it's now a 4v3 in favor of Barrel Boys.
That was a big Lunar Flare saving some lives.
My God!
The hook at the max range, just barely clipping Arthlon almost through the wall, it seemed.
That was a sick hook.
Her boot was sticking out. The wheel on those roller skates was just enough to get hooked. And, I mean, that's the power of Ancestral Healing. We can't stress it enough. They were using so much. They threw the Hunter's Mark down and pretty much all their abilities to try to blow that Diablo up, and they got very close, but Ancestral was there just in the nick of time, and that turned the fight around so quickly, giving Barrel Boys a full level advantage and complete control on this bottom temple.
Yes, there was that amount of split pushing. Actually, the Bruiser camp almost managed to take out the fort in the top lane. Still, you mentioned that the map control is there. They have the vision. They're still getting all of this soak. They're applying some pressure. They managed to cap and take this bottom fort. Things are looking very nice for Barrel Boys at the current time.
Yeah, but the game is still quite even. But the thing to consider here is that level 13 that has just been achieved. So they, yes, that talent advantage can really start to make things scary.
Relentless.
Double Relentless. Ooh, they don't want to get... I mean, that's going to make a big difference when you consider they're relying on the lockdown of the Lunar Flare and the stun of Uther.
Sure. It's especially strange for, I guess Stitches not as much, but Diablo more often than not are grabbing the extra range on Shadow Charge or the slow. And to see Relentless here, they have a strategy in mind. They really want to have a bullying front line that doesn't, can shrug off the CC. That is oh so prevalent on Tempo Storm's lineup.
It really is, so it's going to be cool to see the hook going out once again. I mean, the hooks have been so scary already, getting that last kill onto Nova, so they have to be continuously cautious. We talked about that in the draft. There's so many squishy heroes on the Temple Storm's side that it gets... Well, the hooks can just change fights.
Bit of Merc camp pressure being taken for both teams. All right, so we're expecting to see the next set of temples that's either going to spawn mid-bottom or top-bottom. It's one of those two variations. I'm not expecting to see either team get aggressive towards taking the boss. It's so risky to go for that, especially considering how open it is on both sides. And you have Tassadar available for the Barrel Boys. McIntyre's in position to get a hook, just barely missing Dreadnought. Wow. And that would have been very impactful. Sure, a Soldier could have leapt in to try and save him, but that's like you're forcing a fight on Barrel Boys' terms. That's not how Tempo Storm wants to try to engage, especially at this level deficit.
That Clairvoyance providing so much safety for Barrel Boys too, because when that hook's on cooldown, that's kind of the signal, like Temple Storm says, hey, if we can kill them, like now is a good time to do it because we don't have to think about the hook. They have a 16-second window in which they can try to punish them. And they did that, but having the full vision from that Farsight, or the Clairvoyance, excuse me, is so good. It is Farsight. What am I thinking? Oh no, but speaking of hooks, Soldier gets hooked, but that's not the target they want. The shielding, the Aldruin's Might, of course he has amplified healing. Very hard to blow him up as quickly as the other heroes.
This will be at best a 4v5 for Barrel Boys. They have opted to leave Tassadar in the bottom lane to grab this temple. They're going to try for potential hooks. We see that Soldier is having a very aggressive forward stance, probably trying to block potential hooks that might fall to his teammate. And actually, Temple Storm's backing up. They're still leaving Dreadnought on the temple. They're reading into the fact the Barrel Boys are backing up. They're not going to get aggressive. They say, well, we may as well be taking soak here.
Okay.
It's a smart call.
The second they see Jaina in the top lane, they move in a little bit more. They move in, they say, okay, look, you're spread out. We're going to do that. But Jaina is well aware that's the case. Clairvoyance, once again, unveiling their position, but they managed to cap the entire temple before they move off of it.
Complete trade. Middle temple going to Temple Storm. Bottom temple to Barrel Boys. 15 to 15. A little bit of an experience lead for Barrel Boys. But, man, this is a close game so far. 4 kills to 4 kills. Love it.
Yeah, it's really back and forth. This really interesting composition that we're seeing out of Temple Storm with Nova, super blow-up style versus the more tanky traditional, I guess, in the current meta of the Barrel Boys. They're going to be able to clean up the final fort in Temple Storm. What do they do? Do you go trade forts, or do you try to punish them?
At this point, it's a bit too late. I think a rotation to the bottom lane might get themselves punished, considering that it is at full HP. And they're not quite aware of the rotation the Barrel Boys is going to be taking at this time. They can see them now, but what is going to be the next play? I think both teams are just going to check for the boss. I would really sincerely doubt that either team is going to grab this boss without taking a huge, significant team fight in either team's favor.
Yeah. And Temple Storm just soaked long enough to hit 16, catch up, and now they have those 16 talents. And look at this, the double fake. The lethal decoy in double fake, a very interesting Nova build we're seeing.
The level 13 talent, ever since, Rewind was taken out, it's been kind of up for contention. Not that we see all that much Nova playing competitive. Normally at level 16, Crippling Shot, that is increasing the damage the target takes by 25%. Here, we have an additional decoy, and then, of course, as you mentioned, at 13, the decoys will fire off extra shots.
Hey, hooks are being an issue. Throw a lot of clones in the mixture.
That's a very good point. Also, Rewind at level 20 it's still possible to grab that, and that would be 5 Novas.
Oh my goodness, it sounds actually kind of ridiculous, and they're pushing forward a little bit, showing their faces. The hook is always a threat. The Giants now a big body in their face, and the Temples are spawning middle and top, so that will signal the teams to rotate up.
The thing with the Hollow Decoys is there is Lightning Breath. I wonder how quickly the Lightning Breath is going to chew through those decoys.
Interesting.
And whether or not they will have an impact in those fights.
Oh, the hook onto Dreadnought, but there is no follow-up there as Diablo was not in position to throw a Shadow Charge or flip into that, and Temple Storm will be the ones to sit on that immediately. The Oracle,
3 seconds for hook. What's the target? They do have the Clairvoyance thrown down, and KO is going to be the target. That's a huge one. Jaina has the very limited mobility, is able to sprint to get out of position, and the Precision Strike going down, doing a ton of damage. It's not going to be enough. Dreadnought finds himself prey, and also Tyrael. This is a 2-for-0 in favor of Barrel Boys. Kyondo just barely surviving, having the HP regen on that Dimensional Shift, and they just have the sustain and the damage output to really clean this fight up.
I mean, they made it look easy. They had so much vision on the battlefield with Oracle. They had the, just like you said, sustainability to just live through everything, and the burst wasn't there. They forced them into an awkward position. They forced out that smite from the hook, or the judgment from the hook, to try to save the position, to save the team in general, and they weren't ready to just throw that consistent damage onto a single target and remove it from the fight.
Yeah, the far sight plus hook, I mean, it's I'm not going to call it like obvious. It's a play that's always been there. But it is so impactful to have that extra vision. You have to be so careful. We said that just going into the draft. Like, okay, there's 3 targets. You have to be so careful in terms of where the hook is going to hit. If it hits any of these targets, it's going to be so hard to save them. Yes, Jaina did live initially through the fight with the sprint. Where, she was able to run away. But at what cost? At what cost? They had to throw so many resources just to try to neutralize the fight. Once those heroics are gone, you have the entire rest of the enemy team is trying to run in to save Jaina. Lightning Breath suddenly gets a massive amount of utility.
And yeah, I mean, this Temple Storm style seems very cool. I definitely see the potential in it, but we talked about falling behind and how hard it gets. And now they're 2 levels down. The race to 20 is severely in the favor of Barrel Boys, and they're actually just collecting the Merc camps across the map. They have their Merc camps. They've got Giants and Bruisers pushing across the map.
Yes.
And we see they were considering going up to the offensive Bruisers, and with this far sight, they have complete vision on they can definitely see the stealthed Arthalon.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about it too much, but McIntyre did not opt to grab the cleanse. Was nice to dodge the stun on the hook, which is what McIntyre Stitches, of course, grabbed. The judgment being thrown down onto McIntyre.
And the Precision Strike is there, but the Ancestral Healing is a bit too much. Diablo looked like he was gonna fall, but no, not at all. Damage going in, the Lunar Flare connecting, but 1, 2, 3 members of Temper Storm have lost their lives, and 4, I can count 5. Yeah, that's an ace.
I will say, typically, one of the tanks is not going to be the target to initiate on. Got to fault Tempo Storm there. Not really quite sure what they would have been able to. Yes, like of course the Hunter's Mark, if the rest of the team, but there was, you know, once Tyrael leaps forward to Judgment in, there's a bit of a gap that needs to be closed by the rest of the team. Are they going to be able to capitalize on the full stun time? Once you have that, there's, you know, a ton of effort gets thrown to kill Stitches, and then you have Lightning Breath, you have Strafe, all getting maximum efficiency in the fight. Diablo was second most damage for Barrel Boys. Every Lightning Breath that ended up going off in those super huge team fights, huge damage.
Huge, massive,
huge damage.
Ginormous damage.
Where were the clones? Getting melted.
They were
plastic
actually,
toys in the sun with the magnifying glass.
Those clones look like ice cream cones melted in the sun in the flames of Diablo. I just sang you guys a song.
So nice. Very nice song. Cool strategy, cool idea, but
it didn't pan out. The
No.
counterplay, picking up the double tanks with Rhaegar. Rhaegar Tassadar. It was a very standard composition, but so hard to kill, and Ancestral was always exactly where it needed to be.
Yes.
There was a
That's a
few
good point.
situations where if Ancestral didn't get off, Templestar probably would have won the fight. They probably would have won the fight. But that's the power of Rhaegar. And
there were many fights that did not happen on Tempo Storm's how they wanted to start the fights. Just didn't happen for them. Like, it was not on their terms. The hooks were very much on point, and then the one time they did try to initiate the fight, they probably felt, you know, it is, I understand, it's Sky Temple, it's easy to fall behind and then get in that rut where it's so difficult to get out. They were 2 levels down, they were down to their keeps. They probably were looking to make a very ballsy move, you know, just to like dash forward and just try to like make something happen. I get that.
You kind of have to at that point.
Still, they, you know, picking the target of Stitches, I think it was difficult to see a scenario where that probably would have panned out.
Right, yeah. I mean, again, that's the power of Ancestral. His health pool is already very large, and even with Hunter's Mark, you're down 2 levels on top of that. It's a massive uphill battle to climb. So, GG, the Barrel Boys taking a pretty convincing game 1 versus an unorthodox composition out of Tempo Storm. Cool to see new things. It'll be interesting to see if they do something weird again, or if they go back to a more standard style. What do you expect?
What is the rebuttal? We've seen them, Tempo Storm, I will say sometimes they are stubborn, in the sense that they have been practicing the strategy, I assume, quite a bit over the past week. They know, okay, yeah, there's XYZ situations where it doesn't pan out so well. We're going to try it again because we know that this works.
Think so? Maybe.
We've seen the Asmodan strategy get shut down, not only for them to just run it the next game and completely crush the enemy team.
True.
That's happened before.
So the potential of a salty run back is there.
It might even be more plausible with Tempo Storm than any other team. To run a strange strategy.
Very good. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get ready for game number 2. So you guys stick with us, and we'll be back in just about 5 minutes. Guys, welcome back here to the ESL Major League Americas. I'm Solid Jake.
And I'm Kubi. This is game number 2.
Game 2.
Between Barrel Boys and Tempo Storm. Barrel Boys up 1 game right now.
Convincing start.
Yeah, very convincing. A lot of maximum efficiency play in terms of initiations from Stitches. There's that one hook on Jaina. Just so vivid in my mind. Very nicely placed. Threaded the needle with it. They were able to capitalize so well, forcing Tempo Storm. And that led a lot of momentum moving forward throughout the rest of that game. Just a lot of nicely initiated and handled team fights for Barrel Boys. They kept up in terms of rotations on the map control. They were keeping pace, but they were just taking the slight edge in those team fights, and it makes all the difference, especially on Sky Temple, where it has a bit of that snowbally effect. You got to work real hard, and you have to take huge team fights to make those comebacks. Barrel Boys played it to a T.
They did.
And they got themselves the game number 1 victory.
Yeah, just so many small little things that can turn into a win.
Yeah.
And the draft should be just about ready. We'll find out.
Yeah.
In just a sec. But yeah, just like you said, those big hooks, and then the things like the ancestral healings getting off just in time, all that really got them that win. And yes, actually the draft is underway. So we see that Rhaegar, Diablo are the band. So they actually, Tempo Storm realized the power of ancestral healing in that game, and they said, look, we don't want to deal with that.
Perhaps they're taking a page out of Tuark's book. Both games that we saw Tuark playing earlier in the day, Rhaegar banned both times. And he is a top-tier hero, has a massive impact on those team fights. Like you mentioned, every time one of those 2 tanks got low, especially I'm also remembering that fight in the bottom, for that bottom temple, just as they hit level 10, Lightning Breath. So much. He got very low.
Yeah.
Ancestral Healing. He was down less than 5% HP, kept him alive. Then he pops out a Lightning Breath. He has all of his CCs ready to go. Huge impact. Really turns the fights around. Completely understand it.
All right, so this is like the salty run back. This is something that Tempo Storm likes to do. They like to bring people back to the map they just lost on.
Sure.
And of course, that's a rule that stated in this tournament. It actually, I think it changes for playoffs, but that's not the point. The point is if you lose on a map, you're allowed to bring your opponents back to it. In Sky Temple, that's exactly what we're seeing. Sergeant Hammer was banned out in that last game. In this game, Tempo Storm will be playing as her, so they suddenly have the siege potential. And we've seen this in the past, where you have Illidan in the front and something like Hammer or Nazebo in the back. There's a lot of pressure across the battlefield.
Yes, with that siege, that long-range damage forces you to almost make bad plays to jump in, and when you have the Illidan who's capable not necessarily having to initiate with meta, but using it as a safety tool to get, it's not quite a second health bar, but he gets a large chunk of HP back when he does the meta, and it hits multiple members of the enemy team. So in that sense, it keeps your main damage dealer alive and doing a lot of work. So 2 sort of ways to play him. It's going to probably be on the more defensive side, but we'll have to see how the rest of the team builds out for Tempo.
I think we're going to see Stitches picked up right here. Stitches worked out so well for them in that game. They have Tyrande and Uther. Why would you not do that again? I mean, now the composition is much less squishy on the other end. It's not Nova and Jaina, and I really don't think we'll see either of them based on what Tempo Storm's picked up already.
You have to look at it from 2 sides. They can grab Stitches almost as a denial for Tempo Storm, because there are relatively squishier targets.
Yeah.
It depends. It depends on how Tempo Storm plays to protect Hammer. Hammer's obviously a great target for Stitches to grab, but a lot of teams have been working around that, and honestly, it's very rare for, past level 10, even further with level 16 in the Hover Siege, it's rare for Hammers to really get picked.
Right.
Because the tanks have been doing such a good job body blocking those shots. They are going to go for Stitches.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 2-sided sword for them. They've got the synergy with Uther and Tyrande.
Yep.
They've also got
the denial.
So ETC should be the tank that we see picked up for Tempo Storm. So much synergy and just standing in front of that hammer. You can dive in if you have to, get the knockback. Just a lot of opportunities. He's probably the best tank at Protect the Hammer.
Sure. ETC Malf also has the roots. Brightwing, what do you think? They have run Brightwing in the past. It's less common.
I like Malf better.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
Hold the phone.
Okay.
Okay.
Things.
Hold the phone. What? What?
Temple Storm bringing out the new stuff. ETC, or excuse me, not ETC. That's a panda, not a cow. And learn my animals. Whew, gotta get my jungle book tonight. Yeah, the panda is quite popular over in Europe.
Yes.
The barrel has seen so much effectiveness, and here in North America, we've seen Murlocs use it to some good use on Cursed
Yes.
Hollow. That's about it. It's about it. And
Tempo's bringing the barrel to Barrel Boys.
they believe in our checkered colored friend. The two-tone fuzzball.
Checkered colored?
I don't know.
Checkers are typically squares. I'm not really seeing the square pattern.
I didn't say pattern. I said color.
Checker colored? Is that?
No.
No.
It's not
like,
a thing.
if someone goes up to say, hey, nice checkered shirt, what do you assume? That it looks like a panda?
Yes.
Ugh. You already don't know your animals. You need to learn your animals. Now you need to learn patterns and colors. Jake, you got some homework to do tonight.
Oh,
Next cast, I'll quiz you on these things.
Okay. I'll train. Step by. The cow has been picked up, so the mystery of the moo is plausible. But the mystery of the moo, he's not the one that eats bamboo. That's of course Chen.
No actual analysis, just wanted to rhyme. All right.
Gonna be interesting because we're seeing the double tank once again out of Barrel Boys that worked out for them in that last game. Diablo was of course banned out by them, so instead of Diablo, they're replacing that with a cow.
We still need to talk more about Chen.
Yes.
Typically, Chen is grabbed in team compositions where he's played as sort of an off tank. Use the barrel to control the team, to perhaps zone out 2 members, dive into the backline, maybe zone out the rest of the healers. He's the sole tank on this composition, right? Yes.
What I like is the Brightwing pickup, and I like the idea of the barrel and the Emerald Wind because suddenly it doesn't matter if you have 2 tanks. The amount of control available on the side of Tempo Storm is very, very powerful. And when you think of these entrances to the temples that are very tight, these small spaces where you can just get in there, the barrel can just push a bunch of members out, and then you have Emerald Wind to continue to zone. So it's going to require a ton of synergy, and there's a lot on Barrel Boys to not fall into those kind of traps, if you will.
It's easy for Tempo Storm to force the hand, though.
Yes.
They are very quick to happen, I will say. Heroics, especially the barrel, like it's something that not a lot of teams have practiced playing against it in terms of the position that it can force. And you combine that with Emerald Wind, things could be scary. We might see Blink Heal too. That's a possibility. Question is, what happens when someone gets knocked by the barrel into Emerald Wind? Does it create a black hole?
You know what? It might.
We'll have to find out.
We're gonna have to
find out. It is literally
the
the first time in the history of this game. No one has ever practiced this before, so we don't know if these 2 knockbacks go together. It just breaks the game. We'll have to find out.
Well, introducing our teams, starting off with the blue side, it will be Barrel Boys with McIntyre playing as ETC. It's going to be Tyrande played by Kionda Blinks. On Uther, Trummel playing Vala, and last but not least, none other than Urho on Stitches.
And on the red side, for Tempo Storm, we have Dreadnought on Brightwing. Glaurung's going to be playing Illidan. Arthlon on Tassadar. Soldier on Chen. KO's going to be playing Sergeant Hammer.
Wow, such nice skins. Now, of course, Dreadnought is nice, bright and orange. He's got his summer colors on. The snow is melting outside. Hoth status finally disengaging here in the Arctic North.
A little bit. Good point. Oh, Bride. We were just talking about how Bride has sort of fallen out of favor for the Brightwing players, opting to either grab the extra charge on the Pixie Dust or even the extra damage on the center area of Arcane Flare. Bride is still good.
Yes, exactly.
Just haven't seen it picked up that much.
Yep, so it's good. It's refreshing to see that, and especially on this map, because we talk about, especially in that last game. Did I miss something?
A little bit of a misplay for when they pick up the regen globe. They can see it go into the party bush. And, okay, there's people back there, and we saw Barrel Boys disengage immediately. It's like, oh, thanks, man. Thanks for letting them know we're here. No, I mean it doesn't make a huge deal. Even if they were able to pick up a kill there, it's just a slight bit of experience lead. The ganks, tempo-wise, get it, don't have a huge impact until, like, I'll say, like, past level 4. So that's when you start to really see that swing moving forward.
Well, we can see that Chen is actually quite a good laner. He can pretty much just sit there and drink and mitigate all of the damage coming his way with the shields provided by the Brew. And it looks like Soldier is going to make his way to that top shrine. So Trouble still here soaking. Brightwing, of course, has Phase Shift to go in whenever she so pleases. And right now, Barrel Boys are able to soak this middle tower. But the experience is definitely going to start to lean towards Tempo Storm.
Right, yes, with that extra mobility, of course, of Brightwing. Going to split temples.
This is curious, though. When you see McIntyre make his way down, do you collapse? Do you try to punish, or is it too late? Yeah, I guess it's too late at this point.
There's a lot of, I mean, he has the mobility to just get out of harm's way very quickly.
And Soldier has been doing his best to take this top tower, doing a very good job. Again, just sitting there tanking. He's not even fighting, he's just drinking. He's having a good old time. Oh my goodness, the Phase Shift in will pick up the kill on Urho, and they actually managed to steal the very final shots of this. So that actually keeps this tower alive, which, believe it or not, I mean, that makes a bit of a difference.
Yeah,
it will
die
very
up.
Yeah.
They were able to throw in the last few shots needed to get the experience from that final tower, and that puts Tempo Storm at a slight bit of an experience lead.
And that's all it takes. I mean, it's all about getting the edge and then pushing forward, getting a talent advantage that can press situations that are poor for the enemy team. And during all of this, I mean, Brightwing is continuing to get those stacks. So offensive Merc camps start to become an option if you're in a position to do that. There's a lot of cool things that can end up happening.
Looking at the builds really quick, Stitches has opted to go for a sustain style. I wonder how necessary that is. They do have sort of the 1.5 healers, but the damage might be an issue. I'll have to see with, you know, only Vala being the real main damage dealer. Of course, Toronto with Hunter's Mark, yeah, it's going to make a big impact. Yes. But I might have preferred to see them grab the Slam Talents.
We'll see how it pays off, because like we talked about in that last game, we had the Diablo, which went Lightning Breath. He was a very damage-oriented style, but this is a very reserved Stitches, like you're saying. I mean, he does have the Amplified Healing Material Food. It's very tank-oriented.
Cleanse picked up for both teams from Brightwing and Uther. Likely to have huge impacts in these games or these fights moving forward.
And yeah, that Bruiser camp is actually just being watched. Tempo Storm was in the area, just kind of checking, but with 3 members of Barrel Boys, it is not worth the risk. They're just going to make sure they go back to the lanes, soak those waves as they do meet the opposing lanes, if you will.
Barrel Boys opting to take a somewhat early, although it looks as though the timing will pan out a bit better. Now, the temples spawn 2 minutes after the last one has expired from the previous wave. Since both teams opted to split, as compared to the previous game, this bottom temple is actually spawning a bit sooner than we would have expected. As you can see, both teams are not quite level 9, whereas the previous game, both teams had hit level 10 by the time this temple spawned.
Oh, great point. And with that, I mean, Tempo Storm does have that advantage towards 10, so they should be able to bully Barrel Boys off. That's why you still see Barrel Boys soaking the middle and bottom lane. They desperately are trying to hit that level 10. Brightwing, of course, staying in the top by herself because she can Phase Shift in at any point in time. And with the tri-lane soak out of Barrel Boys, they've caught up incredibly quickly, but we do see the Barrel Archon Metamorphosis. It is going to be Blink Heal, so no Emerald Wind and a Napalm Strike.
Barrel Boys needs to, yes, play safe until they hit level 10. Then they can attempt to throw some aggression.
There it is, though.
All right, Putrid Bile, Strafe, Divine Storm, Starfall. And is it Stage Dive, or is it going to be Mosh Pit this game?
I think he's just holding it till he absolutely needs it. Having the mobility to counter the Phase Shift sounds very nice. And they managed to cap the final shots of the tower, which is, you know, it's a small victory, but Tempo Storm did hold most of the temple shots, giving them a bit of a small experience lead.
Yes. It's going to be a Stage Dive for ETC, the extra mobility, perhaps a chance to split push later in the game. We'll have to keep an eye on that to see what kind of effectiveness they put that to use.
It's also nice just look at it as the way it's like, okay, both teams have their one split push viability.
Sure.
They have the capability of doing that and being around the map. And as we do see the Barrel Boys taking this watchtower, Dread has to be very careful. We have the Hunter's Mark going off. The Lunar Flare will not connect. A very nice juke.
Yeah.
Even dodges the Sentinel coming out.
Also cleansed himself to make sure he could get out of the hook's way there. Nicely played from Dreadnought. Does put some pressure on Brightwing, even if they were to back up here. He can't be quite as aggressive without that cleanse. And of course, still has another 10-15 seconds before it can be used again.
Now, actually, we didn't even mention the Mule on Tyrande. you're giving up True Shot Aura or Battle Momentum and opting for that Mule. Now, they made sure to clean it up as quickly as possible, and there is that stage dive, that global presence, but Brightwing has it too, so here she comes. Metamorphosis goes down, and there is a quick Hunter's Mark going down onto Glauron. Trying to power through him, not going to be enough to burn him down. The heals from the first aid, the blink heal keeping him alive, but Soldier, there's no second health bar for you. You don't have Panda Pals.
That's a good point. It all has to do with the barrel and how much effectiveness does it get in these team fights. They were able to zone Vala out, but the rest of the team just shifted their focus to the remaining members of Tempo Storm. Did they have enough survivability? And we actually saw the Tempo Storm couldn't get too aggressive in that fight due to that, not having the tank to sit there to peel for them. Yeah, they were. If he was able to completely zone out Uther and Vala in the bottom portion of that temple, probably would have seen a much different team fight.
Yeah, it's true, but okay, so the Brightwing Glauron was, or Dreadnought, excuse me, was looking to potentially steal those Giants with bribes. He does have the bribe stacks. He's sitting on a full 50 bribe stacks, but they were there, so he had to turn around and just kind of skirt away, make sure he doesn't die. It looks like the temples will be traded. So right now, Tempo Storm pushing the top, Dreadnought getting the double split soak, if you will, in the bottom lane.
Right, both teams are getting aggressive to their respective forts that can be pushed. This is a very close game so far. Gotta say, I love it. Really high level play from both teams.
Yeah, it's very just like all over the place, and each team are respecting each other so much in just the way they're playing the map. The Sentinel will connect to Dreadnought. That's giving them vision of where they are for a little while, and we see the Hearth did come out of Barrel Boys, making sure to defend that keep, because if you let a Sergeant Hammer push on you, they will plow through your base so quickly.
Like the Giant Killer pickup for Sergeant Hammer. There are 2 tanks available on the Barrel Boys side. There is some potential for the double imposing presence, so that may end up cutting into the effectiveness of that. And Tempo Storm snatching up the offensive Bruiser Camp. I like it. Nice play.
This Brightwing build is called Buttons. Cleanse, Protective Shield, Bribe, and Ice Block.
Yeah, how do you feel about the Ice Block pickup?
It's really cool. I think it's probably the better talent to go in instead of Sticky Flare, now that Rewind is not at that tier. And when you consider that your cooldowns continue to regenerate your auras and everything while you're sitting in the Ice Block, maybe that's the extra edge you need to get that next blink kill off and get out of a terrible situation.
Is this the power of Tempo Storm's rotations that we're seeing come into effect? They just continue to sort of outposition the enemy team and continue to pick up these mercenary camps, apply pressure across the map. You can see them rotating down. They're taking the Giants on their side. Yeah. Probably not going to take this boss. We've mentioned in the past how scary it can be.
Risk.
You need to have a very good read on where the enemy team is. It's so easy to just wait out until the boss is almost dead from the enemy team. Hook being thrown down. Soldier will stay alive, and the barrel's being thrown down.
Yeah, that is a big barrel, disengaging them very hard, putting Erho into a bad spot, but the amplified healing, the full sustain style is keeping him alive, and Soldier will be the one that ends up falling. Starfall connecting with every single member of Tempo Storm as they are fighting within it, and this is now a 4v5. The barrel almost did what it needed to do, and we talked we talked about Stitches, maybe not wanting to go a tank build.
Yeah, that made the difference there. Yeah. So I take it back. Of course, hindsight is 2020. You have to look at these situations from the start of the match. But
very true,
right? It's a good thing to bring up the amplified healing. Yeah, I mean, with Uther and Tyrande, yes, the healing ward is going to provide a lot of sustained healing over time. But Uther is about that burst heal. They don't have the mouth. They don't have that Rhaegar that really will keep people alive over more time. So
and we also have to look at this Mule, because that Mule has kept that bottom fort so healthy this entire game. They've put on aggression, they've done a decent amount of damage to this top lane, but the Mule has kept that fort's at full health. I mean,
yes. Barrel Boys needs to be very careful. They don't have 16 for this fight. They just grabbed it now. Triple imposing presence. We do see the Lunar Flare upgrades for Tyrande and the Blood for Blood and Vala. But wow, they really want to shut down that Illidan and Hammer. And Tassadar. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense now that you think about how much effectiveness they are going to get from that 3 damage output.
We see those Giants are being obnoxious. Brightwing was able to bribe those, but the Hunter's Mark going down onto Soldier, and he's forced to go into his barrel to try to disrupt that team, knocking them back, disrupting them the best they can, but the imposing presence is having such a massive impact on the damage output available for Tempo Storm.
Wow, look at this. They were just bullying, despite the fact that the barrel was there, completely disrupting the plan for Barrel Boys. All right, both teams are going to, well, Barrel Boys will be backing up off of this tribute, or this temple. Not wanting to take this risk. Still, though, what an interesting fight. It's hard to pinpoint the impact that Barrel is having, right? Because you do... Yeah, you disrupt the enemy team, but it also makes it difficult for your team to focus and pick a target to kill unless you push someone into the team and then are able to effectively simultaneously zone out the rest of the enemy team, which is so difficult to do, positioning the barrel like that.
We have to look at the heroics here, though. Only Starfall and Stage available for Barrel Boys.
Future Barrel just came up.
Yes, a slight advantage when you look at that in that hook onto KO. Throws it out, and there is the Future Battle that you're mentioning, going in and dealing a lot of damage. Starfall doing what it does best, but there's the Metamorphosis. Cloudrung going to be looking to try to pick up a kill, but there's the big bodies are just forcing him back.
Such even team fights too, but the hover siege now too. Oh, the hook onto Stitch. That's what we're talking about. You have to be so careful as a Hammer player, and he does get caught out. This is Barrel Boy's time to jump in and really get the damage done, to throw the pain down. And they are going to pick up the remaining shots on this temple, but more importantly, they get a kill. And will this give them a momentum shift going forward?
Oh, the hook once again, but this time it's Arthlon on Tassadar. He's a slippery target, but is he slippery enough? He's putting those self-shields on him. It's the 5 members of Barrel Boys chasing, and Tempo Storm manages to survive. During all of this, Illidan has gone forward. Dreadnought phase shifts across the map to help pick up an offensive pack of bruisers. This is very nice. We see this keep is low. We know they have Mule, so that's definitely something you have to consider. But where is the Mule? It should be off cooldown at this point in time. Yes, the Mule is available, and the second those Knights march in, the Mule should be thrown down.
The Hunter is almost being hunted there. They were really looking to try to punish the Illidan. Of course, they probably figured Brightwing might have been there. Not going to be able to punish that. But I like that play. They obviously had lost that team fight pretty handily. They looked at the map and said, what is the least expected move that we can make right now? Running across to the other side of the map, taking the bruisers, that's absolutely it.
Where is the Mule? This is a bit of a mistake. The fact that they could be healing up that keep right now.
No worries, of course. They're really trying to keep an eye on this boss to make sure that there isn't a sneaky steal on it. Barrel Boys is going to be taking this side of Giants.
So if we look at Chen, pressure point is now it's a level. Oh, we'll talk about that in a minute. As the second we talk about that,
with the aggressive plays.
They force him off the Giants to steal him, and they force out Starfall. No one dies. Complete win for Tempo Storm.
Absolutely.
And pressure point is what I want to talk about. Just gives him a little bit more burst. So that definitely can add up when it comes to the ability to just burn someone down as the Chen, giving him that damage output. And we'll see how much that's going to actually end up affecting this game. Dead even, though. I mean, we're looking at the triple imposing. It really ruins.
Yeah, that had a huge impact on that last fight.
Do you think
such a low kill game too? Three kills and 1 kill.
Especially like for the comps we're looking at, you don't expect this to be low kill. It's not like the double support. Like each team has the half support, if you will. But they got to be watching for the hooks right now. Urho's going to be looking for. I mean, Brightwing can blink out. Chen can fly out. Tassadar can. All of them have a get out except Hammer. So Hammer is, I guess, the priority. And you see Hammer walking behind the enemy team. Very good positioning for both teams.
McIntyre joins the fray. Just a lot of thrown down auto attacks and basic skill shots. No team is really committing too hard. As you can see, that Temple underneath is still neutral. Soldier might have stuck his nose out a little bit too far, and that is going to trigger him to pop the barrel. Splitting off Blinks from the rest of the team. Archon has been popped. Are they going to be able to throw down enough damage?
They're doing a lot, but Soldier, he's got nothing under that. I mean, Blink Kill can heal him up a little bit, but no, the focus isn't there. The zoning from the damage put of that Siege Tank provides to be enough. So far, they're holding this, but that stage dive connecting with 3 targets. Chen, what does he have left after this? There's no barrel, there's no Blink Kill. Chen will ultimately end up falling. They're so low, Kionda. Oh, the Blink, or the Ice Block out of Dreadnought. Does he have the Blink Kill available? Just barely, but it's not enough.
The Stitches have hook off cooldown. 5 more seconds. I think they're probably going to try to apply a bit of chase to either Arthlon or Glaurung. In this case, it's going to be Arthlon. Does have the dimensional shift that will get him out. They're not aware of Glaurung's position. I think they probably would have tried to grab the kill there. Still, massive victory for Barrel Boys, and once again. But still, levels are fairly even despite all of that as both teams race level 20. I can't stress this enough, though. Tempo Storms are on the ropes here.
Yeah.
Another botched team fight like that, and they could find themselves bowing out 0-2 to Barrel Boys.
The thing to consider is they were sitting on the temple most of the time. So when it comes to the temple charges, they definitely won in that regard. But Mule is actually having a massive impact on this game.
Very good point.
The boss will be picked up by Barrel Boys. They're pretty low on mana, so I wouldn't be too surprised. Okay, I saw the actually pull something. I got excited.
Probably was expecting the Tempo Storm to be at that mercenary camp, capturing those at that time. Not the case. Barrel Boys are going to back up. They're going to let the boss Golem push down the bottom lane, and they're going to clean up just to make sure that they can keep this top keep alive, as it is critical. I will say, though, structure-wise, Tempo Storm is in the lead.
Just barely. Just barely.
It's close.
But Mule is the only reason that's the case. And Tempo Storm has actually been winning in terms of sitting on the temples. But Mule is mitigating that. But when it comes to the team fights and when it comes to the kill count, that is definitely in favor of Barrel Boys. So this game is neck and neck. But 20 has only been reached by Barrel Boys.
A lot of bolts. Bolts for ETC, of course, for that mobility to put himself on the other side of the team if necessary to apply extra CC. Tyrande, no rewind.
You say a lot of bolts. I'm like, what are you looking at? Vala's weapons or something? A lot of bolts.
A lot of bolts.
But yeah, no rewind on Tyrande. I think that this is smart since Tyrande's like one of those focus targets.
Yeah.
If you just cannot kill her, who are you going to kill? They're already struggling in that regard. And do we see the lava? Yes, we do see advanced lava strike picked up by Sergeant Hammer because of that the triple imposing presence. You don't want Nexus Frenzy because, yeah, 20% more attack speed. That's great. Oh, 50% reduction when I shoot them?
Sure.
Okay.
No Nexus Blades for Illidan either. Hardened Shield. Now I was thinking like, oh, maybe he can pop Hardened Shield and then go into the barrel. But barrel hasn't really been the target. It's been after he goes into barrel and then hops behind trying to control and body block. That's when he's been taking the damage. So I think if Soldier is smart, he will wait to use it, of course, and then save it for after the fight. And it will make a big difference in those fights because we have seen Soldier getting isolated, focused down, and then the rest of the team fight goes south for Tempo Storm.
And look at this. Barrel Boys is happy to give up this because they're like, all right, well, we're going to get the bottom temple. We're going to rotate around, grab these bruisers, and we have Mule to help mitigate your temple siege. Now, the first keep of the game has fallen. Tempo Storm has the advantage. They have the tempo on their side.
Look at this. Tempo Storm, the timing, it was just flawless.
Impeccable. Impeccable.
Of course, they do have some vision applied from Tassadar, but still, to know exactly when to poke in to say, is this the right time to steal it? Barrel Boys was feeling a little bit apprehensive about trying to push in to capitalize on that.
This game just
very
got
close.
Little bit crazy. 2 keeps down on the side of Barrel Boys. The bottom keep fell for Tempo Storm because of the siege there. And by picking up these bruisers and then rotating through the map, they can apply a lot of pressure.
Despite having the Mule, Barrel Boys does find themselves down in structure. They're ahead, 6 kills to 2 right now. It feels like all of the team fights have been going so much in their favor. So kudos to Tempo Storm to really capitalizing on the objectives, making full use of them, and finding themselves, in terms of getting closer to finishing off all the keeps and then the core, they're actually ahead in that sense.
It's crazy. I mean, they've been very resilient in this game. Pushing forward. We're at a 20-minute mark in the next spawn of the temples. It's actually possible for there to be all 3 temples spawning.
Very good point. And that's the game usually will end sometime shortly after that one team, or there is likely to be a large team fight surrounding that
almost
objective popping up, and whichever team wins that will very likely win the game.
Plays of desperation can happen too.
Yes.
As we approach that marker, teams know that's happening. And if you're down in structures, I mean, look at all these structures, the tank shots. There's a very advantageous spot for Tempo Storm to try to sit on 2 towers and try to end the game. Bottom structures here available. Still a lot. The Mule, I assume, has been keeping that alive nice and well.
Both teams posturing.
But there it is. The triple spawn. All 3 of the temples have spawned. And
Blizzard's way of making this a hectic finish for what could be the final game. Oh, they're going for it. Barrel Boys Is Temple Storm aware?
If they show, they're showing. McIntyre shows.
You're right.
So
the mine.
They're trying to mind game them, and it didn't work. Temple Storm did not buy the bait. They didn't do the full Hearth out. They showed the possibility of doing that, and what they were trying to do is they're trying to force Temple Storm off these temples so they could take several temples.
Cool play.
Not going to be the case. ETC, the one of the global presence, sitting on the bottom one. The other 4 members in the middle, quite opposite for Temple Storm with Brightwing at the top, and the other 4 in the middle.
That mobility is really playing into a huge effect for both of these teams. Still, though, ETC will have more of an impact as he jumps into the fight. We'll have to see if that ends up playing a large factor. Both teams kind of just poking at each other. That middle temple remaining neutral underneath both sides. Barrel Boy starting to back up a little bit. His Soldier applying enough pressure to bully them off.
Look at the way KO is taking this fight. He's not sieging. He's actually just throwing those lava strikes down, laying mines down whenever possible, and throwing the mines out. And McIntyre chooses to try to go in the back where KO is, forcing his thrusters out. Kyonda is very low. Dreadnought is healing himself, and the last shot comes out from onto Kyonda, killing him. Dread uses the ice block to sustain from Blinks, and Glaurung is going in for that kill. I think he's going to be able to do it. It's looking like Temple Storm is going to be able to take this game with 2 full shrines remaining on the field, and these catapults sieging up from the top lane.
Wow. Cleanse is nice, but body blocks, it does not help against that. Uther could not find himself out of that situation. And you're right. The consistent pressure that was being applied from the lava strikes and the mines, it just started to whittle away at Barrel Boys. And now this is a game victory for this.
That's it.
Bringing it to 1-1.
Even if Temple Storm only holds the middle lane, there's nothing Barrel Boys can do. The game is over.
We're going to game 3!
Wow.
Yes.
I have to say, the level 20 talents made such a massive impact for Temple Storm because that once 16 happened, the triple imposing presence, that changed the way the map worked so much. But when it came to the lava strikes, the hardened shield
for Chen was huge.
So clutch. So fun.
Cool to see how the fights shift between those talent tiers. And, there are times where we stress how important it is, like, oh, this team has level 16.
Right.
That's why. Barrel Boys had a huge advantage between level 16 and 20, and then as soon as level 20 hit, huge advantage. Well, not huge, but I would say it swung quite a bit in Temple Storm's favor. Awesome to see that, and it's cool to see how the teams devise their strategy. Do they realize this? Do they get aggressive during that level gap, that timing attack? Awesome stuff.
Very fun game. Very fun double. We've played in Sky Temple twice. That means Salty Run Back is not allowed.
Nope.
So we will be going to a different map, unless for whatever reason both teams agree that they want to play in Sky Temple again. Very unlikely scenario.
Yes.
Very unlikely scenario. 1-1. These are the top 2 teams in the league. And if you guys are just tuning in, I know there's a lot of people that have just tuned in. We can look at the standings. Barrel Boys, they're sitting 5-0 here in the Major League.
That's right, and Temple Storm are at 4-1. A win here gets them that top spot. That's what you really need going into the playoffs. And then we're tied 1-1 between these 2 teams. Couldn't have asked for a more exciting series. I can guarantee you that Game 3 is just going to be spectacular.
And on that note, guys, we're going to throw to a quick 5-minute commercial break. Get ready for game number 3. So you stay tuned. Tell your friends to tune into some Heroes of the Storm action.
Big. Yeah.
And we'll
this is
back.
about as good as it gets. See you guys in a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the ESL Major League America.
I am Kubi, and you?
I am Solid Jake, and wow, what a game two.
What a series.
What a series, but it's not over.
It's definitely not over. And I'm sorry, even before the draft, I can announce something exciting. We're going to Haunted Mines.
I spoiled it on the stream.
What'd you do? What would you do that for?
If they were looking at the screen, I have my little preparing text.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
I was like, Haunted Mines selected, because I want these kids to get hyped up, because this is a big deal. This is Barrel Boy's pick for a map, which is very interesting. Actually, I could be wrong about that.
Who gets the pick?
Yeah, I think it's a losing team in ESL. We cast a few tournaments, and the rules are a little bit different each tournament.
Yeah, right.
But, okay. Immediately Barrel Boys bans out Vikings. So this is interesting. The last time I saw Haunted Mines played, Vikings were banned out because the power that they have in going in the mines, the fact that sprint is an ability, and you can separate all three Vikings, what you can do is you can, especially early game, you can sprint them to 3 camps. At level 4, you have spin and win, you hit Q, and you can soak up 3 camps with 1 player. Or, alternatively, you can leave 2 Vikings out, soak the top and bottom lane, and throw 1 Viking into the mines to help clear. So they are very powerful in this map, and Barrel Boys, very smart to ban them.
Ban it out. I love this. Oh, man, that's so cool. Because it's just like, okay, there's got to be something, teams don't get that much time to practice on this map. It's probably something that's not even requested all that much. But still, I can guarantee you that all of the top teams have at least one particular strategy that they would, if this map gets selected for whatever reason, they're going to have something in their back pocket. And Barrel Boys, looking at the situation, says, what's the most likely thing Tempo Storm is going to throw at us for this map for it to be weird? And I think that Lost Vikings is a solid pick to ban out.
I
love
agree.
it.
Now, Illidan and Rhaegar, immediately I wanted to say it. They were too quick, because Illidan on this map is ridiculous. He is so good. He is so in your face all over the place, and Rhaegar complements him incredibly well. Possibly my favorite duo in the game. As a Rhaegar main, I just love playing with Illidan players. That's especially it's art. It's beauty.
They go from ham to spiraled ham. They do what they want.
What's the tier list? Is Christmas ham like its own tier? Is it different just because it's Christmas?
No.
Spiraled ham is still on its own tier.
Spiraled honey ham. That's even better.
Oh my goodness.
Glazed honey ham.
I don't think I can handle this.
Right, exactly. And if you got Illidan with spiraled honey ham, that's win right there.
So shout outs to everyone that tweeted your pictures of your food to us. Speaking of all this ham,
now see excellent food pics.
And everyone that didn't tweet us pictures of food, you're now all starving, and we apologize for that. But Diablo and Tassadar have been scooped up, so Diablo has picked up an immense amount of popularity in the North American meta.
Mm-hmm. So, there's so much more to think about on this map. In terms, all right, it's very, it's more snowbally than other maps in the sense that most teams will opt to put a lot of heavy pressure on the lanes that their golem push out. If you can secure yourself a very strong golem, starting early, that carries forward. Jake's getting very excited about the Zagara pick. But the thing that I really want to highlight is that first team fight before you get into the mines. You can hit level 4 just before you go into the mines, right? So the strength of your team at level 4 is so much more critical on this map than any other map. Any other map, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And when we're looking at these picks, it's going to be weighed so much more into how strong is our team at level 4. Even 10, it might not even be as comparable. Obviously, the heroics are still going to be very impactful in these fights, but level 4 is very critical.
I think it's okay. I was going to say important for them to pick up a tank, and I was thinking about ETC versus Stitches. Stitches still has a ton of synergy in Barrel Boys, and we've seen them do Diablo and Stitches as a pair with Lightning Breath and Putrid Bile. And on this map, where it's these tight corridors, that it has that effectiveness. ETC, you can never deny how good he is, and ETC pairs so well with Illidan, considering how much freedom they have on the battlefield dashing forward. I mean, he's a cow. He will hit his Q and dive forward through wherever he wants. It doesn't matter if you're a bale of hay, a fence, you're in his path, and he's taking you down.
Right. And just looking at the 2 tanks that were picked, that's crazy in itself. But the 2 tanks that were picked, they have the better base kit than Stitches does. Yes, Hook can be very impactful if it's hit, but if it's not, Stitches doesn't have a lot. Jake is actually just getting up. He's leaving. We'll see you later. He's leaving humanity behind. Doesn't want to cast anymore. All right.
I am actually disgusted. You guys can't see me. I'm standing as far as my cable can reach on the other side of the
Yeah, he doesn't want to be anywhere near this draft.
Tyrande Kerrigan. This is the style that we haven't seen in so long, and Barrel Boys has saved this trump card to pull out at the very end. The amount of stuns and lockdown and just blow-up potential is disgusting. Illidan is going to be diving into a minefield of stuns, and he's going to hate his life.
It's a very good point. Who is picked up for the final grab on the Tempo Storm side? Gosh, looking at their... It's so difficult to make these types of predictions, especially on this map. It's going to be damage, very likely. Malfurion is still an option.
You're looking at these stun combos.
Yeah.
And I what you just said, Malfurion as an option?
Brightway?
No. I like it. I like the idea of popping Tranquility and having Ice Block. Because guess what?
Yeah.
You can just sit there and Ice Block at level 13, but no, they're going for just the more big body style. So I'm quite surprised to see that. Of course, Tassadar already on the other side. Tyrande already on the other side. But guess what? That's their support. Tyrande, Tassadar. So this is very interesting no matter how you look at it on both sides. When it comes to just healing wards are such a pivotal thing, and having these big bodies in the front and having Illidan in the front, they can eliminate those healing wards to relatively good fashion. But, oh my goodness. Kuvi, I can sit down again. We can come back to the stream, say hello, hi, wiggle, waggle, wave.
My gosh.
I am hyper. I'm excited.
Strange draft, but it's cool. It's exciting. This map is going to play. Oh my gosh.
The only thing that would get me more excited is if we actually had Overwatch beta tomorrow and I could wear my Tracer glasses and really enjoy the game. I am excited, guys.
All right, I think let's double check to see if the teams are good to go. Of course, we need to host Game 3. In all fairness, host issues. But all right, let's continue looking at this.
I am perplexed because this is actually so cool.
Yeah, that is a ton of stuns, and they sacrificed a lot of healing for it. It seems quite all in, but also those heroes have very nice base kits. And
yes.
I can't stress that enough, especially Kerrigan.
And Kerrigan's a hero.
She hits level 4. That's like a huge power spike for Kerrigan.
Right, and she's a hero that doesn't scale well.
Yeah.
Late in game, she does poorly. But it's Haunted Mines, so that's not a factor. Haunted Mines, and you also have to look at the potential of their wave clear. Vala, multi-shot, Tassadar, Psystorm, Kerrigan's kit with the Primal Grass, pull everything in, the Lunar Flare out of Tyrande. All of them can clean packs in the mines so fast.
Yes, very good points to make. Ooh, that's so exciting. It's a very different style of draft that we're used to seeing. Like, it's so much different than any other map drafting for, just because, again, that power spike level 4 and the wave clear that's so important. Also need to make sure that you have one member of your team, assuming the map is played out relatively similarly to the last time we saw it, which is probably at least a month and a half ago. Perhaps, yeah, that might actually be true. But back then, it's usually a 4-1 split for the team, and they put heavy pressure in the lane that their golem pushes down, and you need to leave one member that is somewhat safe in terms of mobility. They can't get ganked or caught out of position, and they're also capable of throwing that wave clear back.
I don't know, Kubi. This game is going to be absolutely
it's going to be
incredible.
bonkers.
Tempo Storm, they're focused. They don't have any time for pre-gate shenanigans. This is game number 3 of this series, and the team that wins this will likely get first place in the ESL Major League.
They get that top seed going into the playoffs. Let's introduce the teams without further ado. On the blue team for Tempo Storm, we have Glaurung on Stitches, Dreadnought's going to be playing Rhaegar, Arthalon on Illidan, KO on Zagara, and Soldier's going to be playing ETC.
And on the other half of the map, it is, of course, going to be McIntyre playing as Kerrigan. His Kerrigan has always been well-renowned. Blanks on Tassadar. Trummel as that Vala Kionda playing Tyrande. And, of course, Urho on the Lord of Terror himself, Mr. Dibbles on his green money pig. That is Barrel Boys versus Tempo Storm, game number 3. The stakes are high.
Yes, it's tied 1-1 between these two powerhouses of teams. And already Barrel Boys taking an aggressive stance. They have captured both the watchtowers on this very, very tiny upper portion of the map. It gives them a lot of map vision. Wow. All right, let's talk about some of these talents. I see Demolitionist was grabbed for Zagara. A fun pick. Gives you that early lead, especially because we're expecting to see that aggressive stance taken.
It's very interesting to see what they're actually going to do with that, because it signals, no, they're not going to do anything because Kerrigan.
Barrel Boys, stop!
Secure
That
kill.
was silly.
Oh, did they turn it around? Oh, the shadow charge forward onto Soldier, but Soldier can still try to continue to apply this pressure, dashing forward with the stuns. I almost went into a song there, and ETC falls as well, so a quick 2-kill advantage.
Okay, Barrel Boys showing the dominance that they have in the early game. That first combo that was thrown down, the stuns were all timed perfectly. Loved it. Cool to see that very aggressive style. And we know that the teams are going to have like really in-your-face tactics, or just going to be playing something weird, and they're proving it right now. Barrel Boys is.
This is the kind of composition that works on different kind of maps. We see this on Mines, and with Tomb of the Spider Queen being around the corner, it's entirely possible there. We don't know a lot about it yet, but the Shadow Charge going forward, not quite catching Dreadnought. The hook comes out just reaching a minion, and this is going to be a very tense match, every moment of it.
Yeah, so we were talking about this potential 4-1 split, and it seems as though Barrel Boys is opting to take that defensive stance, trying to pick up a couple extra kills, and like I mentioned, it's all about that race to level 4, and Barrel Boys have found themselves in quite a bit of a lead. Arthlon is catching himself out of position. One more stun might secure the kill, and no, he actually ends up dodging the Primal Grasp, but the Lunar Flare is going to be enough to pick up the kill on Illidan.
A very nice start for them, but Urho is taking a lot of damage, that first healing ward being used. We talked about the lack of healing, but it has not been affecting, because you don't need heals if the enemy team is constantly stunned out. Rhaegar lost his life as well. They chased him there, and this is a massive opportunity for them to go and clear the mines. And remember, we talked about their potential to clear waves?
Yeah, they have it. They have it. Man, Barrel Boys look so fluid this early game. They have it mapped out. All the stuns, the combos are all there, and they look so polished and practiced. I loved seeing this kind of play.
We see Tempo Storm has come into the top portion. They're going to get a few camps, but Barrel Boys definitely looking at the advantage. The two middle camps here have the most mines, and Arthalon is taking so much. Gionda moving forward, connecting with the Lunar Flare, and that is another kill.
Wow.
5-0, but during that chase, they allowed Tempo Storm to pick up more seeds than I expected.
I was about to get critical of his positioning, but you're absolutely right about that. It's very possible that that was just a complete bait to just buy Tempo Storm a little bit more time to try and get a somewhat even golem. Even if they were to not get a single more skull, which they probably won't, 38 to 62, that's very manageable.
38-62, 68-32, they're the same thing. And
I swapped the sides, so excuse me. Okay, all right, still.
I got to call you out on that.
No, of course,
that's what
of
we
course,
do. That's what we do here. But Glaurung, Arthalon, KO, they are going to grab the Bruisers safely, and they can try to get an offensive pick. Actually, no, they can't do that. They cannot get offensive Giants. It's way too risky. But looking at the levels, they're doing a decent job keeping up. By leaving the mines earlier, they were able to start to get that soak in those lanes. They've got the Bruisers that will pressure the top lane, that will be handled relatively quickly. And do we see aggression on the Giant camps?
Doesn't look to be the case. Yeah, we have seen that in the past, and that has been a very
there's still time,
established.
Teams will wait. Teams will wait to cap the Giants.
It's very true.
They're going to wait. Yeah, see, they finish the Giants, and they wait.
Previously, it has been done with a stealth hero, no Zeratul or Nova in this game, so the potential for that is a bit less. Barrel Boys looks as though they want to apply the pressure, and they've certainly earned it. They have the 68 skull advantage. Let's see how Tempo Storm decides to defend this.
So the Giant camps do get picked up just as the Golem does pass that marker. This is to put them in the absolute optimal position in terms of safety while they siege up onto that Golem. They will arrive just a few moments after. And look at this. Arthalon opting to push forward. They want to catch up in levels.
And Tempo Storm needs to be very careful in this top lane.
Kerrigan with the Primal Grasp pulling those
makes
Giants
a lot of sense.
to eliminate them. Such good utility. And the Shadow Charge forward onto KO. The Hunter's Mark comes out, and he's going to get slain. They're making this look easy versus Tempo Storm of all teams.
This Golem is going to get a huge amount of utility. And look at this bottom fort. It has barely taken any damage.
Yeah, they're trying, but it's just
we talked about how important taking that first set of team fights is, going into the first set of mines, and this is why. Look at how much of a momentum shift, or not even a shift, just how much momentum Barrel Boys has built up to this point. Their Golem is just below half HP. This is going to put a sizable dent into
oh my goodness.
the keep.
He's just going to keep slapping away. The Slapmaster 2015 moving forward.
He's a
and
champ.
He has found his target. His target happens to be a house, but that's what the Slapmaster does. He smacks houses, even if it has birds on top.
There's also a mule available for Barrel Boys.
Oh, no.
They weren't able to keep that final tower alive. Still, they got the fort.
Everything about their composition is tuned perfectly for this map.
Right.
And now they're applying pressure to this bottom fort? Oh, Kubi.
Okay, what does Tempo Storm need to do to find themselves back in this game? They are down levels, and I think that's the first step they need to do is safely soak until they can get those heroics.
And that's exactly what they're doing.
What heroics are we going to see that will have an impact in those fights?
They need the Maw Dance. They need it. They need it bad.
Yeah.
It's can bring them back into this game, but for Barrel Boys to actually fall into a massive Maw, A, is unlikely. B, it's such a one-trick pony. And look at this, Apocalypse potentially deny that from happening.
Yeah, and summon Ultralisk.
Oh, no. Talk about push power. If they want to go to a base race, and you summon that Ultralisk, he just rips through buildings, and what are they doing? They're backdooring.
They can.
The Hearth is happening.
It's not going to be a complete. They're just looking to get this keep, and McIntyre ends up getting hooked.
But he uses that.
Yeah, he's able to throw it down onto the roof. Or the totem.
Nice positioning by ETC, but Diablo flips him out, and the essential healing is just off rail. That's game. That's
the Maw, though. Hold it.
What's the
Are they going to be able to hold them off long enough? They're not going to turn this team fight around by any means. But
Maw stalls the game out.
It does.
It's Arthalon.
Not if Arthalon gets caught, though. This is okay. That may change things. Taking this keep is very, very important, and it'll set them up very nicely going into the mines for the second go-around, which should be spawning somewhat soon.
Yeah, nice Lunar Flare to stall them out. Like you mentioned, the mines are coming. Killing Urho now is nice, but he does have those 100 skulls, so it doesn't really matter. He's going to be back alive just like that, cackling away like a Lord of Terror would. We see that Vala was able to hearth out in the bush, and KO is going to get hooked on in, but... Or Kyonda, excuse me.
The stun, actually, from McIntyre, well placed, hitting 3 members of Tempo Storm, should keep Kyondo alive. Yes, and he is going to have time to hearth. Still, a positional advantage now has been found for Tempo Storms, and they should be able to get a sizable amount of skulls. Not taking a lead immediately, but having these auxiliary camps and then taking themselves even a somewhat favorable fight will get them a massive goal of moving forward.
I mean, Flowering has to be careful here. They do have the 50 skulls already, so like you mentioned, really, really nicely done by them going into the mines, splitting up, and getting as many as possible. The dash forward and the dance will connect with 2. Rain of Vengeance to stall that out and help pace. This time will end up connecting, and at that point, they have to turn around. Glaurung is so very low, but Tempo Storm can bully them out.
This is true, but even they have to be so careful. Any time spent taking this golem boss, it could be time that is spent backdooring. They have to be very, very careful about their positioning, paying attention to where Barrel Boys are on the map. Doesn't look like it's going to be the case. They're actually going to try and contest this golem boss.
Yeah, and Dread will be caught. Oh no, he doesn't get hit by the Lunar Flare that time. The boss stopped, not connecting with anyone, but look how low Glaurung is. He has the hook. Arthalon doing the damage, but falling in the process.
The trade going out. Soldier ends up finding himself on the wrong side of Barrel Boys to CCs, and this is going to pick up quite a few skulls for Barrel Boys, not quite evening it out. Tempo Storm still finds himself with a 61-38 advantage. There's still that 1 skull missing. How intentional this is, I imagine it is in Barrel Boys' best interest to pick this up as soon as possible. And yes, we can see the Blinks is moving over to capture that.
That's actually really nice because this gives Tempo Storm time to push this lane out. They can remove these catapults that are an immediate threat, that are annoying, and they can just wait and posture to defend this boss. Because even though it's only a 39 skull boss, they must destroy it before it gets through the keep shields or the core shields.
What's the play from Barrel Boys? Do they just get immediately aggressive? Do they take these bruiser camps? And it looks like they are going to move forward.
If you can fight under a golem when you have all these stuns already,
it's going to be aggressive, but the question is how aggressive. If they wanted to stop to try to apply a little bit of split pressure, it depends on how confident they're feeling moving forward. And
I like this a lot, and the hook there onto Diablo. Is it enough? Do they have the burst? No, Lunar Flare there to zone, still putting that threat in.
Right, there is no APOC available. There's quite a few heroics that are still on cooldown for Barrel Boys. They have to be careful which initiations they choose. An Arrow might find himself a little bit zoned out. The boss!
My goodness, the dance! No! The dance was used early and the boss stomped it out. tragic situation, but Tempo Storm might be able to take this no matter what. They're pushing forward. The Moss set up such a massive play. It's 2-for-1 in favor of Tempo Storm, and they're pushing forward. That boss is very small in comparison, and they don't have to worry too much about it. Trummel will end up falling to Arthalon, the final member. That's the Tassadar. And what is this boss doing? He's got a ton of health left. They can just push on in with it.
Wow, there's a time to chase, and it is now for sure. They need to continue picking up these kills to try and chain together any amount of momentum they can to get to catch up back in this game. But you're right, you mentioned how much health this boss has. If they try to like muster up and rally here, they can try to take this keep out before some of these members of Barrel Boys get back. But remember, it is still early in the game. The death timers are fairly low. Only 10 seconds before the entirety of Barrel Boys are back up. It looks as though they will just try to apply some pressure. It's down to half health. They might be able to pull this off.
Yeah, they should be able to get this keep. The shielding Tassadar will help quite a bit, but they do have all 5 members here at this point. Stitch is now just arriving. He's going to look for that hook. Tassadar is the one in the front, so that's not really what he wants to go for. He wants that Tyrande, he wants that Kerrigan, but they are well aware that's what they're looking for. The boss will fall, but they need to take
this is big. This is big. There's a mule. They cannot let this live.
Oh, no, that Putrid Bile nicely placed by Glowering, and there's the Metamorphosis going in. It looks like Trummel is the primary target, but with the Hunter's Mark, Arthalon is double-thinking it.
Oh my gosh, okay, and then APOC is thrown down for Barrel Boys. Is it going to be enough to secure the Ancestral Healing is good onto Soldier, and he is able to stay alive. McIntyre diving forward is going to get the poison damage on Glaurung. That is enough, and Venom being able to pick up the kill. We're down to a 4v4 between both teams. This is a big team fight. If Tempo Storm is able to clean this up, they will be able to win the game. And it looks as though they're going to back up. Trummel still low. KO very low, out of mana. All these teams have so few resources left to pick these fights.
Oh.
The best part about this is, moving forward, the next fight for the Mines, both teams are going to be at level 16, and whoever takes the big advantage there wins the game.
Pretty much. And there's so many small, little things that could have changed so much there. The Vala vaulted the second Earthgrass Totem hitter, so she got the animation, and then the slow continued after passing through. Yep. If that was any later, Vala probably would have died. It's just like so many minute things that could have changed in those battles, and I'm absolutely loving this game on mine. So aggressive.
Yes, very exciting. Blood for blood pickups on Barrel Boys are going to be a big deal. There is 2 warriors available for them to leech that huge amount of HP pool off of Second Strike and Shrink Ray. That's very interesting. That's just for a lot of damage output, but he doesn't remember he picked up Mule. It doesn't have the crit availability on his Psystorm. Also the imposing presence on Diablo.
Availability. That is probably my favorite misspeak.
Availability.
I love
it.
Now, Pierce is also another thing to look at here, because we have the Pierce and we have the Ranger picked up. That increases a lot of damage potential. And Barrel Boys, they were looking for a potential collapse, but they have since dispersed, and now Tempo Storm is entering the Mines. Diablo is the one in the back. They've stalled him out a little while, and they can turn around on him.
Look at this split from Barrel Boys.
They want to collect.
Tempo Storm getting aggressive.
I like it. I think they have to. They know that Diablo is in the back, and they're moving on forward. Again, got to look for those incredibly clutch Maws.
The Ultralisk is quite low in HP, and the Metamorphosis goes in. Where's the APOC?
That's
there it is.
That's the Maw. APOC was used, and so was the Rain of Vengeance. So where's the dance? There it is. No, not quite.
Wow, look at this. A convincing team fight for Tempo Storm. If they manage to clean this up as a 5 is almost an ace. Is Trummel going to be able to get out? Still, that's a massive amount. They can pick up 100 Skull Golem and get themselves a win here.
This dance back and forth. They're juking me. They're juking each other.
It's strictly a stall tactic, but I think the teams know at this point defending a 100 Skull Golem that is pressing down onto the core is all but a sealed deal. Wow, what a fight, what a game, what a series!
I'm actually kind of speechless, because Tempo Storm made the right decision. I mean, look at the kills. It was 9 to 15 going into the Mines, and now we're looking at it 14 to 15. They managed to pick up all 5 kills, losing 0 members in a very convincing fashion. Incredibly strong start out of Barrel Boys, just dominating the early game, but they brought it back. Level 16 proved to be, I mean, even 13 proved to be their time to turn it around.
Is there any chance for Barrel Boys?
They have to backdoor.
Yeah,
That's their only
I
option.
think Temple Storm is very well aware of this.
Oh my goodness, this could be the signal
Wow.
of a turnaround. Glaurung will lose his life, and this puts Temple Storm on the back foot. But
Barrel Boys has to go. They have to go now.
it's a stall tactic. They have to stall as long as possible. Maw's cooldown, it will be available. They do have that Putrid Bile to try to slow down, but Dreadnought getting caught out. This is awful.
Uses the Ancestral Healing somewhat early. The stuns are going to be there. The Envenoms. Is it going to be enough? The Hunter's Mark. It's going to be able to pick up a kill. The Maw, just used strictly, as you said, to stall. But is it going to be able to get there in time? Yes, the 100 Skull Golem will kill the core, but can they do it fast enough?
I don't think so. Losing those two heroes is proving to be tragic.
Wow.
Only Soldier and KO remain, and Soldier is falling very quickly. The shields have just now dissipated, and KO
This is going to be so close. I cannot believe
it's Barrel Boys has done it, I think.
the health of the core is so close. 49, 50%. Down to 30% for. Oh my gosh! Just,
Oh my God! Barrel Boys does it!
What? I counted them completely out at that point. I can't believe it. Glaurung moves too far forward, and I don't blame them. Honestly, you're looking at the situation like, how can we lose at this point? All they had to do was stall, and Barrel Boys played it so perfectly. Every single stun they threw down, they just piece by piece they picked up targets and just eliminated them immediately. The Hunter's Marks, the Venom, everything was chained together flawlessly. Wow. Just wow. I think everyone watching the stream just immediately assumed Tempo Storm has this game in the bag. What a comeback.
I mean, the idea was to just stall them out. And the speed at which Stitches got blown up. Dreadnought getting caught out and using Ancestral Healing a little bit too soon. The Maw was on point, and it was all about delaying them. And they were literally milliseconds, like half a second, from delaying long enough.
It was the perfect storm for Barrel Boys.
Oh my God. What a series.
That is the greatest game I've
Barrel
ever casted.
Boys remains
That is
undefeated.
the greatest game I've ever
6-0.
casted.
Tempo Storm now falls into 3rd place in the league. Tempo Storm will be sitting at a 4-2 with a 5-1 on 2-Arc Iliad and a 6-0 on Barrel Boys. This is, of course, not up to date, but after today's games, Tempo Storm is sitting at 3rd place in the North American League. Absolutely insane.
I am speechless.
Oh my gosh, that was actually...
Kudos to Barrel Boys.
Yes.
That's all I got to say. They played the end of that. There was such a small percentage, a small window for them to thread on through to win that game, and everything was executed flawlessly. Some of the tightest, most well-executed heroes I've ever seen between these two teams in a great series. Wow. Just wow.
I'm watching the chat because you guys just caught up, and you guys are shocked at us. I've actually never seen the chat blow up like this, and it's actually
that was
it's
incredible.
Beautiful.
Wow, awesome. Well, you know what? Thanks to both of those teams for bringing us such an excellent series, and that was everything we hoped it would be between these two giants of teams, finding themselves both at the top of the leaderboards for this ESL NA Major League. Barrel Boys will go on to take that top seed for the playoff bracket. Wow.
Teams, if you're looking to pick up a squad here in North America, the Barrel Boys are an excellent team, and I'm just going to shout them out because they are sitting undefeated 6-0. They've defeated everyone that's come their way, and next week, their final challenge is now also the 2nd place seed. 2-Arc have locked in the 2nd place seed, and they will be facing the Barrel Boys. Yeah. So that is, I mean, we still have one more week of qualifiers that are just absolutely insane, and then the playoffs begin. If this wasn't crazy enough, playoff means everything's best of 5.
If this is any inclination of how sick the playoffs are going to be,
I don't know if I can handle it.
I don't know either. My heart, it can't handle. I don't think so. Wow. There's nothing else we can say, Jake. The game speaks for itself.
It does. It does. It's a beautiful thing. Heroes of the Storm. Kubi, we return Tuesday night with one best of 3.
Who was that between, Jake? Do you know?
No.
Offhand. He throws it to Kubi. Maybe Kubi remembers. No problem.
I just forget who's playing on Tuesday. That is, of course, Murlocs Inc. and
How could we forget?
Yeah,
how could we
huge.
forget?
That's
That is
huge.
a very big game. Of course, the winner of that will secure themselves that 4th place spot. We've been talking for the last hour and a half about the tops 1 through 3 teams, but it's that 4th place spot that is still under contention between Cloud9 Maelstrom and Murlocs Inc. We can't write a better story than this.
You can't.
They're going into the final week. They're tied up, and they're vying for that last chance to get into the bracket.
Right. I mean, Cloud9, that's a household brand, but Murlocs Inc., they're a team of incredibly talented players, and it is going to be so incredibly close to see who. And that's almost a bigger story, because we're talking Tempo Storm versus Barrel Boys, the 2 best teams.
Yeah.
Great. They're guaranteed to have their playoff spot no matter what. Maelstrom and Murlocs Inc., they're literally playing for money. The team that wins that series advances forward to the playoff stage, which guarantees you money and guarantees you Season 2. So it's the stakes are high. That's the one game for Tuesday, and then Thursday the action continues with Lunatic versus Tempo Storm, and then Barrel Boys versus Tuark, the 1 and 2 seed here in the Major League, to just finally to figure out the final standings at the end, and then after that it's playoffs and things get real crazy.
We can't ask for better week 7 going into these playoffs.
You can't.
I'm so excited.
You can't.
Man, what a game! What a series! I couldn't get any words out of the last 30 seconds of that match. It just was. This is incredible. Is this actually happening right now? Wow. All right,
guys.
That's
it. Kubi, do your shout
follow me at the Kubi on Twitter. I'm going to be talking about this game for days afterwards, so please do. And that's it.
You guys can follow me at Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at SolidJakeGG, and I'm actually going to be booting up the stream in moments, like literally as soon as we end this broadcast.
Telling legends of the series to be. That was, whew. Oh my goodness. All right,
guys.
Let's wrap it up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, great to bring these games to you, and I hope you enjoyed them as much as we did, at least.
And until next time.
Yes.
See you next week.